Hey everybody, this is Joy. My pronouns are she and her, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. We're going to focus on the core, both the front and the back. Sometimes we forget that our back is a part of this very center core area that guides us in all of our movements throughout our day. Whether that's through a yoga practice, whether that's through your day at the office, or whether you're at home. This should help you to gain strength, gain confidence, and gain mobility. Our first core strengthening exercise today will be called boat pose. Find your way onto your seat with the knees bent out in front of you. The toes can be down to give yourself some stability here, or they can lift. Either way, you want a long spine growing out diagonal from the hips. Engage the hip flexors and lift. Chest should be shining forward here. Holding on. Belly button pulls into the spine, lifting up that diagonal angle. And if you want, reach the arms out in front. Now this itself is a very strong pose. Whether the toes are down or whether they're lifted, this here is a good core workout. Check in, see what you can feel. Inquiry into the core. And if you think you can take it a little bit farther, this is gonna engage the hip flexors even more. You can lift through the heels. And bend and lift. Arms can come out in front or maybe even reach overhead. This is where I start to get a little bit shaky if you hold on here, and that's okay. Move through these motions, lifting the heels, lifting the arms, or just holding it. And breathe. We want to do at least a cycle of 8 seconds before we rest. And then we can pick it up again. Coming back into the boat pose, using the arms, holding, maybe even lifting the arms and the legs at the same time. Kind of creates a V shape and bend. Lovely. So to turn that on even more, to access the legs a little bit more deeply, you can grab onto a block if you've got one of those around and place that between the knees. This gives you something to pull in with on those leg muscles, which actually enables you to pull up and out of the hips a little bit higher. If you have the strength, you could also place that between the feet. This creates a little bit more of a dynamic where, because it's further away from the center of your body, that angle gives yourself a lot more work. So I'll show you what that looks like, where you reach the legs out in front of you with the block. And you can repeat, doing cycles of lifting. Toes can be pointed or flexed. Excellent. Make sure you take a break there. A good stretch to do in between would be to come into an upward dog. So I like to just roll over all the way around and find an upward dog. Stretching out the core. Maybe keeping the knees up, hips up. And then roll back. Lovely. Good job. Another fun way to play with boat pose is with twists. So find your way into the boat, toes down, toes lifted, whatever works for you. Then hands press into the center line of the body as if you were doing a prayer pose. Then lift up through the right elbow and try to draw it to the outside of the left knee. Now we're not gonna grab on and twist. We're gonna do this all with the core. Excellent, and back to center. Now lift up through the left elbow. Try to draw it across to the outside of the right knee and back. Shoulders stay down. Keep that lengthening in the spine and twist and back. Twist and back. Another fun thing you can do is with that block, you can take the arms out in front of you, twist, drop, lift, and twist, drop, lift. Woohoo! Even just a couple of minutes of that gets you nice and warm. So one of my favorite moves, I like to call the L roll, as an L. I don't know what's actually called, but it essentially moves all the way from the upper core down to the lower core, and you can repeat it over and over again. To me, you can turn up the heat and down the heat pretty easily, and I think it's a lot of fun. So I used to use this in my dancing days to get a really good lower core workout. Find your way onto your back to begin. We're gonna lift the legs all the way up to the sky. And again, the knees can be bent here if that's easier. And this is just where we're gonna begin. Then slowly lower the heels all the way down to the earth. Engage your core and roll yourself up into a seat. So this is kind of your second L. You're finding it between the upper body and the legs. Slowly lower back down and lift the legs out with straight-ish knees until they come high. And lower and raise. So the nice thing about this is if you're working on your core and it's maybe not as strong as you'd like it to be, it's easy enough to round through the spine and to use the momentum of the upper and the lower body to help you move between the poses. So what you'll see is you're kind of actually using your upper body to bring the legs high, and then you're using your lower body to engage, to pull up your shoulders and your upper back. So if you'd like, again, to use more of that momentum, you can try to do these things at the same time. More of a little bit of a roll that you'll find. If you were creating a ball, but everything's a little bit straighter, engaging the core muscles. And for harder and harder, you'll want to lengthen the spine, lengthen the legs, and move even more slowly. So again, slowly with a flat back as much as you can, draw the upper body down. With as much of a flat back as you can, lift the legs. And go slowly down. Engage the core, rolling out as much of a flat back as you can. And again, good job. Another fun exercise, I'll show you where we can come to lying on our backs. So make your way up, down to the ground, feel a bend in the knees, and draw the left knee in towards the chest. Belly button pulls down and up now, drawing the chin in and lifting the upper body. Hands can come behind the head if that feels good, or they can reach out. The left knee is going to be bent, the right knee is straight, and the heel is lifted off of the earth. And change. So these can also be known as bicycle moves. This gets into both the upper core and the lower. And if you add a twist here, as usual, this gets really good into those oblique muscles. Do at least around 8 seconds, and then feel free to lower. Take a round of breath. You can again lift, drawing the left knee in, right leg long, and twist. Then lower down, taking a big deep breath. Excellent. From here, again, feel free to roll over. Coming onto the belly, pressing all the way up into an upward facing dog. Opening up through that core on the front side as the back side engages. Feeling the hips, low back lifting. And back through center. So the next one is very well known. It's one of everyone's favorite core postures. So make your way into a plank. Sweeping the legs around behind you, reaching them out long. Press into those wide fingers. Lift the hips a little bit higher than you think you should. Drop them a little bit lower, and then find middle. We want to think about the belly button. Again, pulling in towards the spine and lifting to retain that engagement, even as the arms and the legs are still turned up here. So to make this a little bit less about the arms, find your way into a dolphin or a forearm plank. So dolphin pose is usually with the hips really high. Forearm plank is with those hips in the same line as you would a plank pose. Hold on here for about, again, 8 seconds at least before you drop. And get a nice stretch in the front core and engage the back. Let's move into the back core engagement. Find your way onto your belly. Walking the arms out long in front, maybe lowering down. If you're not familiar with Sphinx pose, let's start there. We kind of already there. Pressing the elbows into the earth, lifting the shoulders up. So you're gonna puff up between the shoulder blades and press into the hands, lifting the belly, keeping the hips down on the earth. So this is Sphinx pose. It's a very good, a little bit more passive way to engage the back. So feel that lower spine using its muscles to hold yourself up. So yes, you've got the arms, yes, you have the elbows, but we're going to focus on those back muscles. See if they can do the work for you. Lovely. So Cobra pose is another one of these where if you lower down, the hands can press in. So the elbows are bent, they're not onto the earth. And you can either just use your low back where you're gonna let your fingers dance, or you can press your hands in a little bit to more fully open up the front body. Either way, again, focus on the low back. A good way to make sure that the legs are helping you here is to press in through the tops of the feet. So we want the tops of the feet to drive down into the earth, and that gives you some stability from which your muscles can engage. So come into a Sphinx pose and lower. Take a Cobra, again low or a little bit more lifted, and one more round, Sphinx pose. Puffing up through the backs of the shoulder blades, lifting the belly and lower. Cobra pose, low, lifting the arms, or higher to extend and down. Good job. So even just through that simple sequence, I can feel my lower back getting nice and engaged, getting a good workout here. Another good workout that I like to do starts with the upper body in Sphinx mode. So that's where we wanted to get nice and strong so we knew what we were doing there. Upper body in Sphinx. Belly button pulled in. Tops of those hip bones are still on the earth. Lovely. Now bend through the right knee, keeping the toes pointed, and think about lifting the knee off of the earth. So this should more fully engage the glutes and the back. Flex the toe, keeping that knee lifting towards the sky. Release it out behind you, pointing the toe, keep it lifted, and drop. Let's do that again. So left side, bend the knee, point the toes, keep the knee lifted, flex, extend, and lower. Check in with your upper body. I was getting a little bit sloppy there. We still want it to be nice and engaged. Let's bend, flex, and stretch. Do this a couple of times on each side. You'll begin to notice a very strong engagement in the hamstrings as well as the lower back. Deep breath in, exhale, lower. And as always, feel free to roll over onto your spine, pull the knees in, and give yourself a little bit of a wiggle back and forth, relaxing through that low back. So now that we're comfortable with Sphinx pose, we're going to add on to this opening of the chest and engagement of the spine by creating what we call bow. Come onto your belly and lower down. All right, so engage the upper back by pulling the shoulder blades together, opening the heart space. And start with the low cobra, so letting the fingers get loose, feeling that upper back engage. Then press in with the hands and feel the low back turn on. Excellent. And lower. Let's do that one more time. Cobra pose. Upper back, and lower. Excellent. This time, bend both knees towards your glutes and energetically reach the hands back towards the toes. So you may be able to grab on if you've got plenty of mobility in the front of the hips. If not, that's okay. You're still gonna get the same benefits by reaching the hands back towards the toes. So open up, rolling the shoulders towards the light, feeling the opening in the chest, lifting the chin. Energetically bending the knees, reaching the toes back, energetically extending the fingers towards the toes. If you can grab on, can kick back with the toes, opening up the heart space. It's called bow pose. Another modification is to grab on to the top sides of the feet and keep the feet flexed. Sometimes this engages different muscles in the knees and in the back sides of the legs. So see what works for you today. Deep breath in and exhale down. When you're done, let the legs drift off to the left and to the right. We like to call this windshield wipers, but it enables the hips to find a little bit of normality back to center. When you're done, find your way into a comfortable seat. As always, you can raise the hips. We are gonna do a couple of breaths here. Find something that's comfortable for you. Once you've found your seat, this is kind of how I would close my strength practice. So after your strength practice is finished, definitely take plenty of time. After your strength practice is finished, please take plenty of time to do any other stretches or movements you may like. I like to place the stretching both before and after that strength practice so that you get plenty of relief and plenty of mobility that you've grown. If you are done with your stretching and strengthening, come back to a seat. We'll all take a couple of breaths together, in and out. Draw the hands to the heart. Dip the chin down towards the fingers to lengthen the neck. And move the neck to the left and the right. So the neck is obviously very connected to the core body, and since we haven't paid very much attention to it, give it a little bit of love. Let's meet with the chin down. Take a big deep breath. From here, inquire into yourself. How are you feeling? Do you need more strength, more stretch? Is there somewhere else in the body that needs your attention? Can you go beyond just being okay? See what's there. Let joy, let grief, let happiness, let heartache, let it all exist. Feel it, work through it, and enjoy. I draw my hands to my heart to you. Thank you for being here.